Welcome to Foundations TV, everybody. We are here at the Shivalaya Temple in Medford, Massachusetts, and we are so honored and so privileged to have Swami Nalinanand Giri with us. So, welcome to Boston.
Thank you so much.
So nice to have you here. And he is giving 7 days in continuation. You're giving discourses to a wonderful audience here. So please elaborate on the discourses. What is the focus of this week for you while you're here?
Actually, I'm giving discourses in Shivalaya Temple of Greater Boston, and it's been a real pleasure, speaking on Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran. And in continuation to the subject that we are carrying on, basic focus is on humanity. How to become a better human being in lives. How can you eradicate your vices and adopt virtues to become a better human being?
And I've actually attended one of your discourses here, and I saw the engagement of the audience. I think it's unusual and it's very phenomenal the way you engage everybody. You kind of interweave it with music and ghazals and bhajans, and there's a flavor of Gurbani in there as well. So how did that happen?
It's today's world needs a lot of love and peace all around. And religions all over the world have had a lot of differences with each other. There should be some connection to connect, where you can pull out the common string between all the religions, and you can focus on them not just being religious, but being a human, truly a human, those who can spread love, peace and harmony all around the world. I believe the world needs spirituality more than the religion. So being a spiritual person is more important. And realizing in our philosophy in Vedanta, we do follow realizing yourselves as souls, not realizing yourselves as bodies, not identifying yourself as a body born in a different part of the world or a globe, India or Pakistan or America or Canada. You're the supreme self as a soul. And when it comes down to soul, everybody is a soul. And realize yourselves as souls, not as bodies. So main focus of a preaching is to bring out the common thread, eradicate the differences, and let every human being realize that they are souls. So that's the true message I believe the world needs to know.
That's really beautiful because in today's world, there's all these wars around religion, and what you're trying to bring out is the core, which is spirituality. And I think there's a little confusion out there about what is spirituality versus what is being religious. So, what would you suggest people to the path that you would recommend for them?
The whole problem, if you look at terrorism, it was spread through religion. If all people around the globe start following true compassion, love and kindness, that would make a lot of difference. And our scriptures, I've read Gurbani since I was almost 13, and I've been in deep love with it. I've read Quran Sharif, I've read the Bible. I studied in a convent, so we were taught by nuns. So there's a lot of inquisitiveness in me to know the Bible. And as I was going through the scriptures, there's a common thread. They speak the same truth. Like in Sanskrit we have a verse, it's known as Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one, but was said by different prophets, mentors, in their way, in their language, but had the same meaning. So there's no difference between religions. It's only about how you interpret and how you convey them to the rest of the world. So you have to bring out the common thread. And when you imbibe everything into, weave everything into one lecture, and when the audiences, like you would have noticed, there are a lot of Sikh families sitting here listening to the lectures. So that increases, a feeling of being one. We have to realize that we are all one. Like there is a very beautiful verse which says Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Vasudha is the earth, Kutumb is the family. The whole earth is your family. When you land onto this feeling where the whole earth is your family, and even while I travel in planes, I see a lot of other people, from different races of life. When they converse, because they're sitting with me for 8 hours of flight, they have words and they start coming to satsangs and start coming to congregations because of the reason that we don't talk about in specific about Hinduism. It's got nothing to do with the religion at all. The teaching is so widely spread. It's got so relevant meaning to a person's day-to-day life. How should he behave in situations? How do you react to different people of different ages? It's all about it's a learning process of life. And how do you interact? And how can your interactions be without any vices, with complete virtues, so that you become a superhuman. So it's all about becoming a good human being.
So you say such beautiful things, and you have this aura around you which is so peaceful and so calm, and it spreads, it's radiating a very positive energy. I'm sure when people listen to you and they absorb a lot. But what do you suggest that in our day-to-day lives, when we go out there in the world, how do we continue to remind ourselves the things that you speak of right now, of being good, being a good human being?
Actually, I always believe more than listening, it's imparting that knowledge in your lives, whatever little you can sustain. There are a lot of situations in our life when they come in front of us, and that is the time when we forget all the knowledge. Our egos rise, our attitude raises its head, and we, get carried away by it. True knowledge can only come through practice. You have to, like Adi Shankaracharya in his verse said, Bhagavad Gita kinchid dhita, Ganga jallav kanika pita, sakradaviyen murari samarcha, kriyate tasya yamen na charcha. So the verse says that read a bit of Bhagavad Gita, but what you read, impart it. Don't read the whole Gita, it's not necessary. Bhagavad Gita kinchid dhita. You can just impart that little knowledge and you can start living on it. So what we do is we hear, we listen, but we don't impart it and implement it in our lives. That's the whole problem. You have to be determined enough. You go in the school, you have your homework. Why is it so? Because it needs to get in your brain right there. So they give you some homework to deal with. So when you listen to satsang, you have to go and you have to impart that in your lives, implement that in your lives, in your day-to-day routine, and follow the principle. That's very important. So people don't, there is you're from Punjab, you understand Punjabi. So there was a lady who came to me and she said, I want peace in my life. So I told her, you must read Bhagavad Gita. And she said, Swamiji, Gita ta main pad chhadi. I read it and I left it. I said, you need to just not read it, just hold on to it. So that's the whole problem. When you hold on to the scripture or you hold on to the principle and you take it with yourself, that's when the difference is going to come.
So you may read a little bit, but hold on to it and apply it in your day-to-day life. That's more important. That's so beautiful. Now, it does happen though in our lives that, being normal human beings and lay people, not spiritually advanced and evolved as you are, we tend to have more of self-love and, there's a fine line between having self-love and becoming selfish. So I would love to hear your thoughts on these two concepts of loving yourself versus being selfish, and how do we let that impact our behavior in our day-to-day lives?
I believe self-love and selfishness, go hand in glove. I believe they are the same. It's being selfless and loving your own self and being selfish. There you draw a line. But self-love, if you, like Adi Shankaracharya in his verse says, Aham Brahmasmi, realize yourself as Brahma. And when you realize yourself as Brahma, you see him in everybody. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. So that Brahma that is within you is everywhere. Like in Gita, Lord Krishna says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam ja mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. So Lord Krishna says, see me in everybody and see everybody in me. So that's the concept, you know. And I believe selflessness and, you know, giving yourself to this world is more important than loving your own self. The society has given us so much, from our parents to our teachers to our mentors to the society, from relatives, from everywhere. We've gotten so much, we have to give them back in one way or the other. When I became a sannyasi, a celibate, that was the main thing, that the focus was, I've gotten so much from all around, I need to pay it back to the society, to the world at large, and serve humanity. So I believe loving your own self is not the utmost goal of life, but, you know, serving the world by becoming selfless. Yeah.
Well, beautiful, and I can go on forever and ever. I have so many questions. I want to hear your discourse tonight. But now that you touched upon your personal journey, one last question about your personal journey. When did you become a sannyasi, and what was the motivation and what was the drive that came from within, or what made you take this path?
You know, like Lord Krishna in Gita says, Bahunam Janmana Ante Jnanvan Mam Prabudyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha. The verse says that when you pass through a lot of lives and when you enter your last life, you realize that your birth is not meant for smaller things and just for the material world. So beyond material desires is, you know, there is another world beyond your material growth, beyond your aspirations, beyond your, you know, you can say all the worldly desires actually. So I realized this is not the end of the world. My life is not to be wasted on petty things, just relationships. And this was an inner awakening that came. I believe it existed since I was born. And my mentor and my mother, both were the biggest inspiration. So she had a hard whip on me, and, you know, she would make me sit for hours, and until the age of 15 she made it a point that I do sit for my prayers, I'm disciplined, I'm in self-decorum, and that transpired everything. And my mentor's grace was obviously the topmost factor in getting me switch over to celibacy. And I believe this is the true life. Living for your own self is, you know, everybody does that. There's nothing unique about it. There's nothing that can, you know, last for a longer time. But being a celibate, and when you serve the community, you know, take their उनके दुख दूर कर दें, you know, take their pains away, you know, that gives you so much of satisfaction. So that satisfies me the most. So I chose this path.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Gauri ji.